Welcome everyone to the witness chat in the Ramble on June 19th or June 12th. Where did I get the 19th? I'm trying to get rid of the month. Bit of a
Uh, Relaxed chat here today because we've only got a few witnesses so far. So we will hear from the witnesses that are present if they have anything they want to say. And then we've had the question of curious to hear the thoughts on people's views of Hard Fork 21. And I think that's an excellent topic. So all those mics that are muted, y'all can unmute them at some point and come on and give your views. But first I'm going to start with Jack. You got anything to say about witness Hard Fork? The floor is yours.
Yeah, good day, everybody. Well, I think we've heard a whole bunch of mixed reactions to the proposed HF21 that's been presented to us. I'll sincerely say that many of us, I won't say most, but many of us, most of the people that I've spoken with, which in my mind suggest that many other people out there as well, think of it as a done deal, that we almost feel like no matter what we say or try and do, that it's just going to go ahead as what is presented. Now, that might not be the case. It could be just the impression that we have. But after HF20 and a few other things, and, it's hard not to have that impression. So that's a little bit on the downside of things. But on the other side of things, if we look at it realistically, we're talking about things in HF21 there which are not SMT related directly, although they are maybe in some way related because they maybe need to be addressed prior to SMTs being tackled. So we don't have to write that off as a bad thing necessarily. But again, the impression is there that it's all murky and not misunderstood because it hasn't been presented in a way. There's no game plan put. There's no like a timetable or a plan of action being put out there with estimated months and so on, which we've justified in the past by saying, well, we don't want to have that because then we won't maybe achieve our goals by that time. But again, the communication I think failed there a little bit on behalf of the people who are presenting HF21, with that be Stephen Incorporated in conjunction with a few of the top 20 witnesses and other team players out there who are involved in the actual GitHub side of things, that were involved in the GitHub side of things on HF21. So the PR side of things, I think, is a little bit on the downside there. The topics which I found which were distressing most people, including myself, were namely the topic about rewarding in some way rewarding without it necessarily being a monetary reward, but sort of like allowing for more what we used to call flagging, or what we tend to call downvoting now, which is probably the best term for it, especially after seeing how downvoting has been utilized by the vast majority of those who have utilized it to date. Human nature. Technology may change, but human nature doesn't. So I'm not sure if that's the best thing to do, in my personal opinion. That is my personal opinion. In my professional opinion, as a person who wants the best for the Steam as a blockchain and for the investors, I believe that the emphasis needs to be put onto the actual investors, the front-end owners, such as Steemit Incorporated, who owns Steemit.com, or the owners of busy.org and any other front-end website, whatever you wish to call it, for them to integrate their own means of managing the downvoting side of managing their front end the way they believe it should be managed, and monitoring what needs to be monitored. I don't necessarily believe that we should be dumping it all onto Steam, and because I don't see Steam as being the scapegoat or the fall guy for anything that is done wrong, when all of these front ends are private property and they are managed by private companies. And I will always go back to that one example, which proves my point, where the US government asked for a certain individual registered on the blockchain to not have access to the front ends, and all of these front end owners were able to block that one individual without any hassles, as per the request from of the people in charge within the jurisdiction they fall under, whether it was US government, who I'm not sure now, but as per the laws of that state that they are registered in. So that really does, in my opinion and in my mind, that confirms my stand on that issue. Now, that's looking at it from a different angle, of course, to what most people are looking at it. Most of us are looking at it from just the Steam code and Steam, as it was in the past. But now we have a lot more front ends, and we plan on having a lot more front ends and not just Steam.com as what was back in 2017. I think I've said it too much already with all this, so I'll leave it there and I'll jump in later on if need be. Sound fair?
Okay, so I see Wes asked a question there in regards to the reference to flag rewards. So currently, if you flag somebody, you need to use your own Steam power to flag somebody. Where what is being proposed isn't that you'll get rewarded for flagging people, but a certain number of flags you'll be allowed to use at basically for free, and that your voting power will not be impacted by it. They haven't actually made that clear how that's going to work.
If I can add to that, it hasn't been made clear how it will affect the RCs as well for the transactions which are being done on the blockchain. That was one of the purposes of the RCs being introduced, and for the actual transactions to be completely 1,000,000% perfectly registered and charged / paid for, quotation marks paid for, from the bandwidth transition to the RCs. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, but we'll have transactions that are going to be done, but there'll be no RCs charged. There'll be nothing charged for it. So aren't we defeating the purpose of the
Anything I've
HF20
read
in some way?
seems to indicate that it will impact your RCs. You've got to have the RCs, but it won't impact your voting power because there's going to be a separate pool for the actual downvotes.
I haven't heard anything to state one or the other. So there's questions there.
I think probably, did you take a good look at the post that Vandenberg put out about the downvote pool?
Wasn't a good day for me, but I did read it, yes.
Okay. You might want to go back and have another look at it because that's where I got most of my understanding from it. The post that he did on the voting curves and the posts that he did on the downvote pool, both of those were illuminating.
Ian Warp just confirmed that yes, you're correct. Your downvote, it still charges your RCs for it. Okay.
I think
so
that's
at least that's like.
I think that's the account you want to have a look at there, Blue. And yeah, there we go. Downvote pool deep dive. Those were
a lot of these posts have to be read a lot of these posts have to be read 2 or 3 times to really comprehend everything that's.
Yeah, so your voting power won't be impacted, but your RCs still have to be there. You can't do it. I see Archange has joined us. Welcome, Archange. And if you're able to come on voice, we'd love to hear anything you have to you'd like to share with us today from a witness standpoint or in regards to the upcoming hard fork. I don't see him unmuting there. He's typing. No mic with him. Well, chime in by text anywhere you'd like to because I'm going to be watching the text anyways. I think one of the things that I've found disturbing is that Steemit Inc. put out a post that talked about the EIP that they were proposing. And they were pretty specific in it that they were not planning for it for the next hard fork, that they were wanting to start the discussion for a future hard fork. And from what I understand, the witnesses kind of basically privately said, yeah, let's do this. And now the coding is underway. And yet the community hasn't really been made aware of it until it was already underway. Yeah, that's called transparency for we gonna do it. So I'm not really too sure at this point whether it was already underway and it was being put out there as a trial balloon to see how everybody reacted to it, or whether they really did have to kind of turn around and start coding for it after the witnesses said, let's do it all in one. So there's actually two parts to this hard fork. One is going to be the Steam proposal system, which apparently is not actually nailed down as to well how it's going to be financed, even though initially it was supposed to be by donations. And then there's the I forgot what the E stands for in the EIP. Anybody understand that acronym? I've forgotten the initials on it. Brain fart. This is just for discussion. It's now in the next batch of changes. Actually, they really need to make that known. I don't see an official post about that still. So are you saying that the EIP is not coming in the next hard fork, Eon? Oh, okay. Yeah, we've gone from it's not in, it's just up for discussion to it's now happening.
And if I may just hog the mic for one more minute. As far as the proposal system goes, I'm very, not in a delightful way, but in a very negative way, surprised at all the different reactions to that. We finally have something that's going to be put forwards that will put us into a position where we can, help businesses thrive on our blockchain. And nobody wants to give up a penny. And I'm not talking about witnesses giving from their pool. I'm not talking about from their pool. I'm not talking about anything like that. I mean, there was one suggestion that was thrown out there by a few people, and it was discussed from what I understood, that from HF20, that little difference that goes if you vote before the 15-minute mark, that difference that goes back to the pool, so to say, goes towards that. And there's a perfect solution. It's a perfect solution. It works very well. And even that's been knocked back or not accepted, should I say. So I fail to understand, do we want to move forwards as a professional business? Because this is business. There's money involved. Or do we want to be just a let's all grab the money and run type of and have fun type of pool while it lasts? I mean, there really needs to be a line drawn. What's business? What's social? What's fun? I mean, that's just to the point where I'm getting at now, where even I myself and Guilty and a few others are talking about things in a way like, okay, from here onwards, we're just going to do our thing, make it happen, end of story. No more discussing this with these guys or trying to team up with other guys. No, just go ahead, do your thing, and shut up and make it happen. And no more asking questions or, delegations and God knows what else. That's what it has been done in the past. It's getting some of us to that point where we really just don't want to depend upon anybody and just go ahead and do it. Not depend, but to even expect anything from anybody. Just go ahead and do your thing.
So, Fracas, right off the bat, I see you've made the comment here about the foundation proposals going to have what to do with a hard fork. The foundation proposal is going to have nothing to do with the hard fork. The Steam proposal system is not the foundation. So that we need to be really clear on. The Steam proposal system is the system that's going to be built in to the hard fork, and it will operate rather automated off the hard fork, where the foundation proposal is totally separate from the chain. It's about supporting the chain, but it's not on the chain. So hopefully that answers your question on that one really directly. Nylon says it seems like too much together. If they can pull it off, he would be shocked. Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time they've done a whole bunch of stuff together. And that becomes a little bit disconcerting when things don't work out. It says these details seem to not be known, by the way, except the work has been undertaken to prepare for addition from inflation. I don't think they know exactly the breakdown unless someone else knows this. And I think this is what people are reacting to, is the fact that it's being talked about, it's being decided upon, but nobody really knows exactly what it is. So before I get too off track here, it says he'd be sure people would be happy if it's coming from the witnesses. I think part of what people are reacting to is the fact that there's this discussion about we're going to cut the author's portion of the rewards and move that over to the curators. And then on top of that, there was another discussion that they were also going to cut the author's portions of the rewards in order to fund the SPS. And I think there's where some of the problems are coming. Only certain areas are getting targeted. And Whitty, where are you? Are you here? Yes, you're here. What do you got to say to us today?
Can you circle back? I'm in the process of getting something to eat for the little ones here.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to open the mics up. Anybody wants to come on and talk about the upcoming hard fork or anything else that they've got a concern of as far as the blockchain goes? I see Dan has joined us, and I know he's a proponent of the cut in the distribution of curation rewards. Eon says he doesn't have a problem with the multiple changes. They're quite independent, and he's pretty confident that they can roll out safely. Is everybody afraid of the mic? Y'all can come on the mic, you know. Nylon says, like they have delivered on everything else so far. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have anybody here from Steam It Inc. in order to be able to answer some questions how we moved from, we're putting this post out for discussion to, it's now looking like it's going to be included in the same hard fork. So anybody who's not familiar with Eon is a very competent programmer and very aware of the code that it takes to run the blockchain. And when I hear him making comments along the line that this stuff is fairly independent and one won't impact the other, I think we can have a certain amount of confidence that it might be a lot of things being put into the hard fork, but it should be able to come out. However, Arcane says he's not confident that they can be rolled out safely. It's too many changes at the same time, even if these changes have to be bundled together to generate their effects. So Arcane, do you feel they need to bring them out in two separate hard forks? Arcane can't come on mic, so we're going to have to be patient, let him type a response. Eon says there's a difference between the changes themselves versus the impact of the changes. And Nylon says he's not trying to be negative for the sake of it, just rather be confident that he's ready to go before we see it done. Get it right first time. Yeah, they are supposed to be setting up a test net, and they are supposed to keep testing it until they are confident of it. Just as long as they're not confident to the level that, Dan is not actually a witness there, Sarge.
He may as well be. He gets more involved than half the damn backup witnesses out there.
Fracas asks, what does hard fork mean for the front ends recently copied through the Steam engine? I'm not sure that I follow on that one. Okay, so Arcane says, no, they should go out together, but remember the hard fork 20 nightmare, even if there were tests made. So are you proposing that maybe what they need to do is a longer and more extensive test net? He's typing a response. My understanding is that PalNet is a layer on the Steem blockchain and would be unaffected by an actual hard fork. They're actually already running on a 50-50, and I believe the downvote pool as well.
If I can give Fracas an example that might make it easier to understand. All those side chains, if you recall those crazy forks that were going on with BTC back in the latter half of 2017, they are on the chain, so the Steem blockchain is where it's all being ledgered, but they're running their own actual code. So just like BTC Gold, BTC Silver, BTC Plastic, BTC Nylon Bags, BTC Nylon Stockings, and whatever other BTC fork there was, that's what this is like. It's just a side chain using our blockchain as a ledger, and they're running their own code.
Well, I think where the difference is that Fracas is referring to is the fact that these other chains, ones, they run separate, totally separate, where with PalNet, there's a certain amount of overlap in that as long as you're using that tag, if you vote on Steem and you hold PAL, the vote happens over there as well, except that it's rewarded in PAL. Okay, Arcade has responded with, yes, I've read too many. We suppose we think it should improve Steem economics in posts about the coming hard fork. Yeah, lots of discussion about what we should do, but unfortunately, we're not getting very much in the way of actual statements from Steemit Inc. that are doing the programming as to exactly what they're doing. Yeah, it says the problem is it depends on certain behavior actually happening. Downvotes, while people seem not to like them, are key here. If downvotes don't actually happen, the set of economic changes is frankly doomed. Well, this is where I really wish I could get you on voice to explain that. I see Bluefin is typing there.
If I may add, juggling the figures around with what we have, we've got so many coins in our piggy bank, and we're just juggling them around. While, like I said, each front end has the ability to add flags or whatever they wish to call it, report structure or whatever, to their front end to control the behavior of the users of their front end. And again, I stress, each front end is a private company. The Steem blockchain is merely a ledger. That's how I wish to refer to it in this case. So private companies, we're basically trying to put all the emphasis onto the Steem code rather than putting the emphasis on the responsibilities of a private company to manage their front-end business, which they'll be making money from.
Okay.
And yes, if we had SMTs being the priority of HF21 rather than these changes, all of these changes that we're discussing here could have easily been done by any front end using an SMT, and which would be backed by Steem, hence increasing the demand for Steem and the value of Steem. So that's the part that really confuses me, is why are we doing it? Why are we putting the cart in front of the horse again and doing it in a way where instead of promoting private business and their responsibilities as such and their independence as such, and giving them the tools, the SMTs, to do so, we are now doing it backwards. We're talking like we're back in the beginning of 2017, in the middle of 2017, and not in the middle of 2019. That's the part that bugs me, and I'm not being critical in a bad way. I'm just stating my mind very openly and upfront, in a very, as you can see, calm voice without the emotions there, because I see it. I've expressed it. No, I don't say nobody cares. But it's, again, it comes down to that feeling of, well, this is a done deal. What can we do about it? Nothing. That's the feeling that many of us have out there, regardless whether we be witnesses, or regardless of, we're all Steamians at the end of the day, and many Steamians out there feel that way.
I think part of that is coming from the fact that we've got 17 out of at least 17 out of 20 witnesses that are kind of basically deciding exactly what's going to happen without actually communicating, and we're not really sure that they're even listening. Eon, in response to the reference or the inquiry I made to him about the downvoting comment, he says the fact that downvotes are necessary for proper correction of perceived overvalued posts. There's a point in that there is an emphasis that larger stakeholders will be the ones to do it. It's wisdom of the crowd type thing. Everyone is in a different level, but averaged together, it's effective. And I understand exactly where you're coming from on that, in the sense that we do need to recognize when a post is over rewarded and respond to it by doing downvotes. The unfortunate part of it is that instead of it being developed on this platform, that's the normal way to operate, it's developed that you downvote me, you're going to start a flag war. And I'm not sure how we're going to change that behavior.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
I rest my case for each front end having to have their own terms and conditions.
I know that they do it over on Reddit, where there's upvotes and downvotes. Money's not involved, and that's probably one of the things that we're fighting against, no matter how this is implemented, is if there's a perception of rewards, people are going to react. Hive says a private business opens front end for their business. They have their own token in SMT. Anything they post can be seen on the Steam chain. If the product being sold is flowers and someone objects to flowers being picked from the bush, someone flagged the post by the business could fail because of lost earnings. Yeah, that type of an arrangement. Eon pointing out there's already a few that have expressed that they will. I don't hesitate to downvote, for example. There's one thing for people to say that they will do something, and it's another thing for them to actually say it. I'm seeing people say, oh, if you change the curation rewards and you make it 50-50 instead of 75-25, I'm going to do more manual curation. I don't believe it for a moment. If they're already doing automated voting, they're not going to change. Now, Nylon says it'll be interesting to see how downvotes work on PalNet between the emotional attachment we have to our Steam payouts and whales abusing them to destroy accounts so they don't work on Steemit. With the PalNet coin being even more evenly distributed from the start, it'd be easier to upvote and downvote.
I don't think I'm going to agree on it being more evenly distributed because they've already got their whales. I'm just saying. Aggro's not starting out with 400 PAL coin, is he?
Well, no, but what they did do...
A lot of those people over there in PAL are not starting out with no 400. Yeah, they did an airdrop, which was cool. But if people came in early on Steam, it would have been no different because they would have got 1 or 2 votes and had 500 Steam almost immediately.
They evened it out a little bit in that they capped it, and I've forgotten exactly where the cap was. But above a certain level of Steam, you got 0 PAL coins, well, other than the top number.
40% of the tokens there were distributed internally towards PAL, and members of PAL who were already high up within the organization as far as running the actual PALnet, the radio, and so on. Mm-hmm. So add another 10% plus 1 token, and you've already got a majority rule there. That's basically what it comes down to, and I think that's what Woody was referring to, the fact that there is definitely a 40% already guaranteed to be in the possession of PAL and those people who run PAL, and I'm sure that they would have bought up the other 10% plus 1 token.
Okay, so Eon says the problem on PalNet until they separate voting from Steam. They separate voting from Steam voting. We won't see it. I think they're working on it regarding saying versus doing fair, I might do X. Okay. And then Ian says, well, they do have to address the perception of unfairness coming from that one group, being the mods, that got a really large amount of stake relative to the others. So
but all the power to them. I'll quote Ned on this one, regardless of who thinks of what. I don't care what anybody thinks about Ned. Ned stated it very clearly. Whoever wants to fork, whoever wants to do something along those lines, all the power to them. Forks are great. Their competition is great. Spreading the actual vibe of using blockchain technology for social network is fantastic. That can only just help Steam. It can't destroy Steam. It can only help Steam because it all started from Steam. So there's nothing wrong with it. I honestly don't see a problem with PAL doing what they're doing and moving forward with it. In fact, all the power to them. I fully support them on that. I don't have to be part of PAL to support them on something. You see what I'm saying? And Ned was the first one who actually said that in one of the chats, I believe, in PAL. It was State of Steam. That was I'm pretty sure it was State of Steam, and Ned said it in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he says a lot of things you can't really remember, be sure whether he means it the next time either. So, Eon has said, Hive here has made the comment, define better rewarded on the number of tokens or the value of the tokens. And that's very true. You know, you may look over on PALnet and look at a post that says you've got 50 PAL coming, and then you look back on Steam and the same post is telling you you've got 9 USD. Is one any more valuable than the other just because the numbers are larger? And Whitty says, comes back to opinion of what good content is in reference to the larger stakeholders giving the reward. Okay, some of you guys can actually come on voice so that we can have an actual conversation. I feel like a narrator here.
Yeah,
I was trying to find a good time to come on like voice activity. I'm sorry. I'm doing 100 things over here.
Okay. Okay. Hive, you had something you wanted to say there?
I was just going to say, well, what I was saying, you can be on PALnet and you can get 100 tokens in reward and you're growing and it's great. And you can be doing the same post and posting it to 2 places, and on Steam, you're only getting like 5 back in Steam. So if you get 5 back in Steam, right now it works out about $2. But that 100 tokens on PALnet may only be worth $1.
Yeah, because Steam right now is running at 43 cents each, and I looked this morning, I think PALcoin is about 6. Let me have another look. Does that give you the PAL as well?
I don't think PAL's listed on Bittrex or Polynex.
Yeah, I don't think so yet.
Steam Engine.
Yeah, we've got the ability. I just have to remember the command here.
Well, the point that I was really trying to make was that the amount of stake.
Yeah, PAL right now is trading at 6 cents, 6.4 cents, where Steam is 43 cents.
I think that what PAL has done and Steam Engine, what they have done, has actually confirmed that we do have a very high need to concentrate on SMTs happening as soon as possible. That's what I think is the message that's crystal clear out of everything there. And although there may be some mixed emotions with some people, at the end of the day, the message is loud and clear. We do need SMTs to be priority number 1 to expand our Steam blockchain to the general public in every aspect of business on the internet. It
Okay,
really
Fully,
is crystal clear.
fully agree.
you've made the statement, and it's crystal clear to you, but it's not crystal clear to me, and I suspect that there's others in the room say the same thing. So please explain why it's crystal clear to you.
Well, we've seen. Okay, I'll in a few simple sentences. Point form. Point one: the Steam engine was made up by a member of the Steam community, and it's a side chain. It has been accepted by many Steamians out there. Those many Steamians confirmed that they do like the idea of there being sub-tokens, which we refer to as SMTs in the past, ledgered on the Steam blockchain. Unfortunately, they are still not part of the Steam ecosystem, although notes to make sure that everything is clear, I understand that there is talk that it shall be incorporated into the SMT system. So it will be working parallel to it, but also incorporated with it and working as part of the ecosystem. PalNet has gone out and made a site, I'll call it a side chain or a fork, a BTC Gold version of Steam, and many people, Steamians, have accepted it and have taken it on and wish to be a part of it, which again shows that there is a need for communities to have their own sub-tokens and for those sub-tokens to be a part of the Steam ecosystem. If we don't do that, if we, Steam, don't make that happen, then we'll be having all these side chains which inevitably will be going further and further and further and expanding and possibly breaking off one day because they'll be doing their own private business without the Steam ecosystem being necessary for them to function. That's what it really boils down to. Then we come to a third point, which is rather dangerous. How many of the stakeholders, say whales, will be sitting on both fronts, and where do their loyalties lie? Like what we've seen with EOS, where some of the top 20 witnesses, some of the top 20 witnesses are concentrating all their efforts on EOS and not doing a damn thing practically for Steam, or very little, if anything. So will that same scenario happen with PAL? Very possibly, because if they see more interest over there, a financial interest over there, to gain money on this side chain / fork, then they'd be crazy to waste their time here when they can put all their knowledge and time and effort into something that's bringing them more money. So that's what I'm trying to state is very clear out of what's happening right now. And it's a good thing that it's happening because it is clearing up all the smog and making it crystal clear that we do need SMTs to be worked on and put into the code.
Okay, first of all, you don't have to leave Steam in order to go to PAL because all you got to do is put a tag on. So you can do both. And then they encourage you to do both. Secondly, Jack, and I'm not trying to pick on you here, but I'm just trying to be, have clarity. I know you're talking from a point of view of somebody who's got some pretty good understanding of crypto and how it interacts. For the non-crypto types, how do they see the connection between these tokens and mass adoption of a platform like Steam?
The PalNet tokens or the
Whether
SMTs?
it's PalNet or SMTs or any other kind of token. Make the link.
I see it a mass adoption already from the existing Steamians who are already accepting the improvised version of SMTs and an improvised version of a privately owned front end using a improvised version of SMTs. It's accepted by
maybe I misunderstood your original statement, because the way I heard your original statement was that PalNet and the other tokens is making it really clear that SMTs have to come out in order to get more mass adoption of Steam. And my question was, how do you make that leap?
The link is how many hundreds, if not hopefully even thousands of Steamians have already accepted PAL tokens in the airdrop who are already using them, and clearly stating, yes, we want sub tokens. Yes, we want front ends to have the independence to be able to manage their tokenization and rewarding of users of the front ends, which is exactly what SMTs were supposed to do.
Yeah, that's the people that are already here on Steam. Okay.
Correct. Imagine
the way I understood your statement was that you were referencing the people that are not on Steam. They would need to see something like the SMTs in order to be able to want to jump on board more. And
the difference is the SMTs will pump the requirement for Steam power. In order to run a front end on an SMT, you need Steam power, hence staking. And that automatically builds up the demand for Steam, hence boosting the stability and value of Steam, and likewise putting Steam right up there with all the big boys.
Okay, if I went back to 3 years ago, and I was just wandering around on the net, and I came across Steam, there is nothing in what has been talked about today that would make me say, oh, they got SMTs, it's wonderful, I'm going to join Steam. Because I've got, at this point, very little knowledge of cryptocurrency if I've gone back 3 years ago. I've got a whole lot more knowledge now. But if I go back to the point where I have very little knowledge, is there anything about SMTs that would attract me into Steam that wouldn't do it right now?
It would be the offer that the front end using the SMT, the independent, privately owned front end, and I'll just give a silly example, a version of Twitter, a clone. I'll say a better version of Twitter that rewards its users with SMTs, and their reward distribution is done in a way that most people who prefer a Twitter type of front end would satisfy their requirements and needs. Hence, voila, there it is. See what I'm saying? Each front end has to be marketing itself. We're going back to what I stated earlier, and I don't wish to be running around in circles, but each front end needs to be investing in its own business. Steam is not their business. It's their front end that is their business. They're using the Steam blockchain to run their business, but it's their personal business. Private business, sorry.
See, here's one of the problems, and this is something that What's Up talks about a lot, and I have to really agree with her. When you've responded to my questions about what would attract the masses, you keep responding as if these people are going to look at Steam and see these front ends and all the other mechanics in behind it and go, oh, that's wonderful, I got to jump on board. When they know nothing about Steam, what is there to attract them?
It's the front end. It's what the front end offers.
But they don't know it's the front end, and they don't care. What's there to say, come on in?
Well, if somebody puts a game and tokenizes it with their own SMT, meaning it's their own private business, and they need Steam to run it, the person at the end user, just wants a fantastic game that is earning money on, and that has rewards which are in line with the gamer mentality and the gamer requirements, the gamer expectations. Just putting gamers as an example. Same with people who are into gambling. You know, they don't need to gamble with Steam. They can gamble with a BG token, which is a gambling token for a BG gambling front end somewhere in the Cayman Islands, which is an SMT. So each front end really has to appeal to its clientele, to the market out there. Not Steam as Steam. Steam is just the foundation that all these front ends are being hooked up to. Without SMTs, they can't do that. Because they're dependent solely upon the Steam ecosystem and Steam and the SBD and nothing else. PAL, in my opinion, what PAL has done now has made it very clear that there is a need for sub-tokens / SMTs to be issued, to be the first and most crucial priority out there if we wish to make Steam a household name in every single aspect of online business.
I don't think you've actually made that connection clear for me anyway. So at this point, I know Hive wants to jump in, and I know Freedom Point wants to jump in, so we need to open the floor up. Hive, go ahead.
This is going to jump a little bit between the SMTs and the flag. But just to begin, I'm going to use you as an example, Shadows. And Shadows opens a front end, and I think if Shadows had a front end to the Steam chain, it would be literature orientated, quality literature, novels, probably factual things as well. But that would be where Shadows would concentrate her efforts. So Shadows wouldn't want all other spam posts, like the posts I make, them coming into her chain. That's not the type of things that Shadows wants, thinks her audience wants, and I doubt they would. So people want to go there for novels. They don't want the rest of the bullshit on Steam. And Shade is the token used by Shadows. People can probably buy books using the Shade. Now, if somebody opens another store somewhere else doing something totally different, and they just don't happen to like an author on Shadow's post, they should not be able to flag it. I think it should end up the way things are going now. I think it will end up there'll be loads of front ends that use the Steam chain. And what is on one front end should not obviously be available on the other front end. The Steemit.com holds a list of everything that's done on the chain. And I don't think that from Steemit.com any flags should be allowed to be done. If you want a flagging account, you have to be a member of Shadow's Pub group to be able to flag members of that group. Now, if the people in that group are abusing it, the people in that group control it. It's not for somebody else who has a different interest to decide whether that content is good or bad. Shadow's Pub is there to do that, and she probably has a group of people working with her in that business, if it's that big anyway, to help her do that kind of thing. So the flagging and the front ends kind of work together well, but it has to be done on isolated things where anybody who logs into Steemit.com cannot just flag any post for any reason they feel like.
Yeah, I hear
that kind of goes in with the communities aspect. I think maybe that communities were talked about at one point being implemented.
Yeah, that's exactly what Jen was describing. The unfortunate part of it is that I don't think you could actually, take a front end like Steemit.com that has got everything and say you can't do any flagging on there, because as Eon and some of the others have explained, the idea of downvoting has to go with upvoting. It's just how it's being applied that's the problem. Freedom Point.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I copied that. We're on the road here. I was listening in, and I just want to kind of respond to what you were talking about with the SMTs. And maybe I heard it different, but I see what he was saying there about the importance of the SMTs in the different communities. And, one thing that I've seen is that mass adoption. Like, people love to gamify their experience. I mean, that's why people jumped on, started creating tokens. And then you can see that you have sites that are coming up like Palnet.
Yep, we lost you.
And I'm sorry, are you there?
Yep, you're back.
I thought it was me at first. I was like, oh,
okay. So then you have these tokens being used. Sure, it's all on the Steam blockchain, and I guess if these things grow, say Palnet was to grow, and it was to grow and grow and grow, and the value is to go up, and then what would stop them from creating their own actual blockchain and not utilize? You know what I mean? Like, what would prevent them from saying, okay, well, we use the Steam blockchain as a jumping off point, we built up, and now we can build our own blockchain, the PAL blockchain, right? And then they can start doing the same thing that the Steam blockchain is doing with hosting other front ends on their own thing. And so if that kept going, then Steam turns it into a place like, and they're growing up and then they're moving on. But SMTs would tie the front ends more towards the Steam blockchain, and I think that it would almost discourage that grow and go out mentality, but it would grow, which would raise the value of Steam, which would help everybody, right? It would help the value of the SMTs and all the staking. Just an idea.
Yes, theoretically. I'm just seeing some questions here about downvoting in relation to PalNet. My understanding is if there's a downvote on the Steam side, that it will not carry over onto PalNet because it's kind of set up separately as kind of a layer. But Eon, can you answer that? Does one impact the other if there's a flag downvote? He's typing there. Yes, Steam versus PAL. If there's a flag on a post on Steam, will it carry over to PAL?
And vice versa.
Right now it's tied.
And if there is a downvote on PAL, it would carry over to Steam, correct, Eon?
Okay, so in order for the vote to carry, or the flag to carry over, would the person doing the flagging actually have to have PAL coin staked? So if the person doing the flagging hasn't staked PAL coin, then it will not impact on PAL. Yeah, so if the person stakes PAL coin and goes flagging on Steam or on PAL, it'll affect both, but otherwise it won't. And it's the same on the voting. You actually have to have PAL coin staked on PALNet for the vote to actually make an impact. PAL, from what I've seen, this PALNet actually is a whole new concept from every other fork that we've seen. Although I understand weed cache is the same way. If you use the right tag, you'll get weed cache.
Yeah,
but
just use weed cache.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's just it hasn't picked up the notice that PALNet has. But if I don't sign in and post and I use weed cache, it'll still pick up over there, will it not?
Yep.
Yeah. See, Interblocks has got the same, except they're not using a separate token. So if you use Interblocks as a tag, it will pick up over on the Interblocks front end. It's just that the posts are shown in the Steam tag.
Which I think is awesome because I think Steam is where people need to put their focus. Just saying. I mean, you go over to Steam Engine, you can cash out in like Litecoin and Bitcoin and stuff now, right? To my understanding, or actually, I said you can actually buy coins with Litecoin and Bitcoin and stuff right now. It's almost a full-blown exchange, correct? Yeah.
On Steam Engine,
so,
yes.
Yeah, I got mad respect for Yeti and keeping it on the Steam chain and going the direction he's going and waiting for SMTs. Not gonna lie to everybody, big pat on the back.
Yeah, but at the same time, I also see, when we're talking about as, we go forward in the years, the amount of Steam is going to be less available. So those SMTs will expand out the options and still be structured on the Steam chain, as I understand it.
Which will do what? Make Steam more valuable?
Yep.
Yeah. So the way Yeti's going about it isn't brilliant, in my opinion. Just saying.
Fracas Scream worded it very nicely. Palnet, this whole project that they got, this endeavor that they're embarking upon, is an excellent use case example, and it proves, it actually proves that there is a need for SMTs. That's my main point right there. He worded it in use case. Beautiful.
I think one of the things that I was trying to get at, and that's why I say I wasn't trying to argue with you, Jack. One of the things that we have a tendency to do is when we start talking about what will trigger mass adoption, and by mass adoption, I mean people who have not yet encountered the Steam platform, getting them to come on board and participate in it. And when we talk about it in terms that we understand because we're here already involved. And What's Up's point is that we need to talk about it in ways that those people who have not yet encountered the blockchain would understand and be attracted to. And it takes a different bit of a mindset in order to be able to try to describe it.
If I can jump in again.
Mm-hmm.
People are already, in theory, my theory, or in practice, I should say, using digital currency. And if you mention digital currency to any of us in this room, we kind of think along the terms of crypto. Well, people are already using these in daily life. They use that card, they tap it, and they're using digital money. And at the same time, they go to the shop and they get these loyalty tokens, rewards for using and shopping in the same shop all the time. And they can trade them tokens in that they get for rewards in the shop of other products when they build them up. So people are already used or familiar with using digital currencies. It's just that they go by the name of loyalty tokens. It's not related to a finance. When you start mentioning crypto and blockchains to people, they think trading, finance, loss of money. Nah, not interested. But if you give them a loyalty token, yeah, they remain loyal.
But they think of loyalty tokens not in the form of finance in any manner. It's just something like a point system. And they really don't think of it as having any particular value.
Exactly, but they still want it, and they still chase it, and they still accumulate them.
Some do. I'll tell you, I had a conversation with my brother the other day, and he actually does get into doing trading and has looked a little bit at cryptocurrency. The only way he can get his head around a cryptocurrency having actual value is one that he's actually bought into, and it's being backed by physical gold. To him, that's a legitimate one, and all these others have no value. And when you point out to him that the dollar that's sitting in his pocket has nothing backing it up except the belief that it has value, he can't get his head around it.
He's institutionalized.
And that's exactly what we've got to connect with. Artemis had the same conversation with him.
Yeah, but I think that's because we keep emphasizing on the crypto and the finance side of things. We should rephrase it differently to more familiar words to them.
Yeah, and we need to bring it to them in a way that they're actually going to look at it and go, let's go and really go after this.
Well, it's like what I said about if you opened the front end and it was literature. You're offering tokens, and the shade tokens, people by using your front end can come in and they can earn shade tokens by interactions. Now they can redeem them for a purchase of a book. So if they like a particular author, they can probably purchase that book using these tokens. To them, they're getting a free book, but they don't realize that they're doing things for the front end as they're going through. And it's just a circle thing, and it keeps coming around. But they come in that way just for the loyalty rewards. Where if you said a shade token or shade crypto, or it's that giving it a finance value instead of a purchase value can make a big difference.
So Dream, come on, voice and tell us that, please. I shouldn't be narrating here. Everybody's got themselves muted. And she's typing again. Oh, her earbuds are broken. She's going to go and get her other ones. Jack, make your comment there on voice, please.
I feel like I'm hogging the microphone. Another use case scenario, even though a very touchy topic which none of us really like to talk about, was DLive. If they had been able to tokenize their independent front end, with an SMT, they would never have had a need to go and to go into all the costs of making a separate blockchain, because they would have had an independent token which was backed by Steam, which they already had the backing from Steam Inc. at the time with the delegation and so on. And what they did was they marketed their own front end. They didn't market Steam. They marketed their own front end as an alternative to YouTube. And YouTubers accepted it and tested it, liked it, and started using it. They did their own marketing. They went out and gave the customers what the customers wanted. They're the ones, that front end, that company, that group of people, whoever the hell they are, were the ones that did the job right. They had a business plan put together. They put it online. They hooked it up to the blockchain. And if they had an SMT, they would have been possibly even today using that SMT, because the SMT is theirs, and it would have been growing in value like crazy. And more YouTubers would have been hopping on board like you wouldn't believe. And guess what happens? When the YouTubers go to the DLive and they hear about Steam, then they might look at some of the other front ends as well, like Busy.org or Steamer.com, etc., etc. It's the flow over, the spillover effect. But they did it right. They gave the customers what the customers wanted. They did the marketing side of things, and they did it right.
Now,
Unfortunately, they didn't have SMTs.
I do believe that Partico, I heard talking at one point, and when they approached the people at Tumblr that were getting their accounts eliminated, they didn't talk about being able to make Steam. They just talked about being able to come and post freely. Okay, Dream, go for it.
I was just going to say that, when I download like a new game or something that offers to give you points, when you're playing a game with points and stuff, a lot of times that concept is very elusive. But when you're playing a game with points, and then right next to that tab that shows you where your points are is a tab that says rewards. And then you can go into there and, so my 5,000 points equals, a $5 gift card to Amazon or something like that. If there's an application, then all of a sudden people are like, oh, so that's how I, use my points. And that's how relative my points are. If somebody gives you, 500 tokens in something, but you have no idea what 500 points is, maybe you have to get 5 million in order to get a $5, then you realize what stake you have in the game. And so I think there's a lot of things that with Steam and with other tokens that people are like, oh, that's good. I got 100 tokens, or I got, I got whatever, 5 Steam or something. But to them, they're like to go to WorldCoin to figure out how much I'm not doing that. So it's kind of like, I wish there was some way that they could have and I understand that the rewards would fluctuate because the market fluctuates. But if you could have something that's kind of like comparable to, hey, for this, you get this, then maybe it would start to, bridge that gap for people.
Because showing the value of our posts in USD is not really making things real relevant for people either. Because they've got to figure out how to...
Exactly. And the market changes all the time. Not only that, but it's the concept of, you and I and other people have had that conversation before too. When we see the market go down, we're actually excited because it means that we're getting more steam for our value. But people who are new don't understand that. They just see, wait a minute, 6 months ago, this post was worth, $20 and now I'm only making $1. Well, yeah, maybe this post was worth $20, but Steam was up to $4. So you're getting 5 Steam. But now it's worth, $4, but Steam's only worth 20 cents. So you're getting more Steam. But that's too much for them to actually try to, figure out. It's like if there was some value that could actually be, it's really hard to find whatever that would be because the market does fluctuate. But if you could kind of convince people here's what you could exchange it for, or you could hold on to it as Steam, but giving them the choice and giving them the value and giving them, I think when people can actually own that choice and say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I could cash in my Steam and get a bottle of Coke or get a movie ticket, But you know what? I think I'd rather hold on to it because I did hear what Bitcoin did last year, that kind of thing. So, but when people don't really have the choice and they're lazy, I mean, like most of us are just lazy minds. We don't want to go researching. We don't want to learn new things. I'm like the chief of that, So I think it's hard to get that across to people.
Woody's got an interesting point there when he says there should be a toggle switch so people could see the value in various currencies. And for that matter, in various tokens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I mean,
that would be great.
Think about it. It's not just the biggest user base is not the United States. So why it's in USD, that's just kind of segregating the rest of the world that uses the platforms. And yes, it definitely should show other tokens.
Well, it does, but at the same time, a lot of non-US web users are used to going onto websites and seeing things displayed in USD. That seems to become the unofficial standard for some reason.
But let's say you sold some Steam and you put it in your wallet. Are you going to go to the store and use US dollars? Or are you typically going to pull some Canadian money out of your pocket?
No, I'm going to love
just saying.
I'm going to love the fact that I'm going to look at it arriving at the exchange in USD and leaving in Canadian dollars. I'll cry all the way to the bank on that one.
And let's not forget Steam Engine, for example, and the internal market that we have would then incorporate the SMTs in there, making it possible with just a click of a finger or a click of a mouse button to go ahead and exchange your currency for something else. So I can see those two things booming once the SMTs come out, literally booming.
Yeah, the more options we get in how to display it may actually help to make a little bit of a difference. Because if I could go to a post and look at it and it says $9, and I could click a button and say, okay, now I want to see what it's worth in Steam, then you start to see some relevancy between the numbers. So it's really an excellent concept, Witty.
Huh?
I said that's really an excellent concept.
Would that be hard? Would that be a software type thing?
I would think that it's something on the front end.
It sounds something simple. I mean, if they can just add a flag over there and next to the upvote button and put a little downvote button, they can easily add a toggle switch that shows different tokens and currencies.
That would be a condenser change because it's a front end, and that applies to any front end. When we say software was a condenser change, we're talking about Steemit.com as the original
if you want to, I guess.
Front end that was there once upon a time.
Go get dressed.
Any front end can do that. There's nothing stopping any of the front ends from doing what you just suggested. And if they see it as a great idea, then sure, they should incorporate it.
Hey, Kitty Girl, there's an excellent suggestion to make the Steam peak. They seem to be fairly open to hearing suggestions.
Yes, they are very open to listening to suggestions and trying what they can. Yeah, good.
It would be very interesting to see how that is received. And it may actually make it easier for new people coming onto the platform to start wrapping their head around the values.
Okay, I'll try to remember to mention that to them. And then Nylon said something about we need to have a Steam debit card. Didn't someone come up with that a while back? It seems like it was called Shift or something like that.
I heard someone talking about a Steam debit card, but I don't know that it actually happened.
Yeah, I heard Freedom X was going to do one, but I've not heard a whole lot from them. They haven't even updated their website in a good month and a half, 2 months.
I think that was something that they were going to try to work out with Netcoins.
Yeah.
I was shilling that we get more and more Steamians registering on WireX who have a Steam account and who are they're more European based, but they are international. The only difference being that because of legalities, jurisdictions, they can only issue hard plastic cards to be used on ATMs to European nations and the X amount of nations out there. But the US and Australia and some other countries more towards Asia, they can only do an online card. So you can do online, transactions, but you can't physically take a debit card and withdraw cash from an ATM. But WireX is already on Steam, and which suggests that they are willing to look into it.
Interesting. So we may be actually reaching a point where there might be a card in your pocket similar to, what is the one for their Bitcoin, BitPay or something? It's like a ATM card that you can walk up and utilize at the right terminal?
Yeah, I believe BitPay is the name.
Is it BitPay?
I know Cash App, you can move Bitcoin around over there and use that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Coinbase is working on coming out with something here pretty quick.
Hey, so I have a question. I don't know if it would be more for Kitty Girl because you have the connections with Asgarth and Steam Peak, but so going back to that whole concept of like the rewards and stuff, I'm thinking, Steam fluctuates a lot more drastically than SBD, because SBD they're trying to keep pegged, around $1. But when I go play, I don't play this game anymore, but when I used to play this game, don't even remember the name, but the longer that you played, the more coins that you would earn. And then, like I said, you would have this place that you would go to where you could just exchange for a $5 Amazon, $5 PayPal, $5 whatever. And they had a bunch. Would that be something that like a front end could do? Maybe like the longer that you are on, I don't know if they could track, or maybe the more often that you post, kind of like Partico, the more transactions that happen, upvoting, commenting, check-in, that kind of thing. Then they could track how, long you've been there, and then how long, obviously, you've seen, certain ads or something, and then exchange like SBD for, like a reward type of thing. Is that something that is possible, or is that something that's like, no, too hard? It's not really loyalty points, Freedom Point. It's more like, I'm thinking
Activity
more along,
point.
because I know we all have tokens now, and they're all kind of loyalty points. What I'm saying is a more visible representation of how those loyalty points equate to rewards. Because right now, that's very like, it's a concept. It's very abstract for people to have an X amount. I can have X amount of Shade, X amount of Steam Engine tokens, X amount of PAL tokens, and it doesn't really, it's all dependent on the value. But if you could say like, okay, I click on this rewards button and I can see for blank amount of tokens, now I know how much that reward is. Would that be something that like a front end could do?
Well, if you go to the Steam Engine site right now, it will show you what tokens are worth, like in US dollars, if you were to trade them in. Is that not something that would satisfy?
I don't think so, because I think like that's kind of the hang up with people right now. I think like they can go to, worldcoin.com and they can see how much their Steam is worth in USD as well. But there's something about seeing like for 5,000 tokens, you can have, a $5 gift card immediately. Kind of that it just feels differently. Doesn't it feel differently to other people, or is that just me?
I think I see what you're talking about. It's kind of the instant gratification process that so many people find important, in that, right now, in order to take Steam out, you have to take it out through an exchange and you have to send it out to your bank or to your Visa card or however you're doing it. It's a process. Where if you could come onto a site and say, okay, I've got 5,000 Steam and I want to put it into these many gift cards, and it's done in seconds, everybody's happy. Is that what you're saying, Dream?
Yeah, and I think they can also see. It's like that silly game that I played. I'm telling you, I would go there and it's like for 5,000 tokens, I could either get a movie ticket or, a PayPal card and just the options of having like this is what my money buys. This is what my tokens buy. It's sometimes even cash is very abstract because you think, oh, that's going to go in my pocket. I'm not really going to get anything. But something material, all of a sudden you have a gift card or a prize or something that it just feels like you're actually thing with tokens, and it's not the same type of concept of taking money out of my pocket and buying a gift card. It's something that I earned by spending my time there. So it's like it just feels like, ding 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 ding, like, wow, I just got something kind of for free. You didn't, because you spent your time and your energy. You really did spend to earn that. But in your mind, it's kind of like a different, it sends off different signals in your brain that you're earning something with your time, and you get to see that visual representation, and you also have choice, because when you're looking at it, it's not just like, oh, I'm pulling it out into cash. Now I have like 20 different gift cards that I can choose from, and it's kind of like advertising for those partners too. And I think if you could show that to a person, because like somebody else had mentioned, crypto is so foreign to people. And as soon as they hear that, they think stock market and they think, oh, I'm not a trader. I don't know how to do all that stuff. But if you just said, yeah, and then you get tokens where you can get like gift cards, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I know gift cards. I get that,
Yeah, they can relate to that. There actually is a couple of websites. I've seen a Canadian one, and I believe the other one is an American one, where you actually can use crypto to buy gift cards, but not Steam.
Yeah, and I think Eon just said that ActiveFit, he's waiting for ActiveFit to do that. And I know that they had mentioned something about, having like wearables through Garmin and stuff. And that got very exciting because right now I have a lot of ActiveFit tokens too, but still, even though I have it, it doesn't mean much to me. But if I need a new Fitbit, and if I know that I can earn my Fitbit or whatever it is by trading my tokens in, I'm going to work that much harder. If I have the reward that's visible, all of a sudden it's not just this random like accumulation of tokens that don't have any application. I'm waiting to earn 100,000 tokens so I can get that Fitbit. You know what I mean?
Zipporah is saying it's like those survey applications that reward X amount of points per survey filled in, then offer gift cards in exchange for the points. People fill out the surveys all day just to earn those rewards.
Yep.
And that's true.
It's totally true. Totally true.
Yeah, but going to the Steam Engine site, I see now that I have earned a total of 275 shade. USD value is estimated at 2368. That surprises me, but
I wonder how much mine is.
So that shows me that shade is really worth something.
Somebody was doing some trading in shade, I believe yesterday, and it took a nice jump. Whether it'll hold or not, I don't know, but it took a nice jump.
Yeah, but
nice. Liddy, are you trying to get more shade than me?
Well, seeing a display like that, though, gives me a lot of incentive to continue earning shade and spread it around,
Zip, do you have no shade yet on a hot weather area like you live in? We're going to have to do something about that. Yeah, Crimson's pointed out, you do remember that's only if you sell and there is a buyer, not to be a downer. Very true, Crim.
Yeah, that's true indeed. Well, since we're on the topic of shade, Shadows, you might want to take a second and tell people how to earn shade.
I wasn't really here to promote shade today. Come to the PYPT is the easiest way to earn the shade, because when you present posts, you earn shade. If you comment on those posts, you earn shade. Yeah, Soul's got it there. PYPT. Zip, you haven't actually missed it, have you? Unless haven't posted in 2 months. And good to see you here too, Crim. Crim, if you've got anything you want to put in, we did start the conversation out talking about the upcoming hard fork and views on it. So if anything you want to toss in there on that, I know you're at work, so I won't bug you to come on mic. I'll read it out for you. So we've been talking about easier ways to present Steam to people that are not familiar with the platform. Do people actually realize that when we're on other social media and other websites that we actually can be doing the marketing that we keep complaining that Steam Inc. is not doing? And we can do it by talking about this platform and the simple terms like we've been talking about here today. Chabera says, if you guys have a good plan, we'd be happy to list you on Freedom X. Who are you talking to, Chabera? Oh, yeah, we can talk about that. Yes, tweet it, share it, stream it, but when you're on these other platforms, talk about it in terms of people that have not seen Steam and what it would attract them here. Those are the things that we need to be talking about and we need to be understanding so that we can do some marketing instead of just complaining that Steemit Inc. isn't doing it. Yeah, they should be marketing Steemit.com, but the platform itself, we can all be doing some marketing to. Krim says, I can make a very clear stance if that would help. I'm not pro EIP in totality. I would accept and vote for a free downvote in a pool and a funded version of the SPS, including seeing Steemit Inc. putting for their seed on the blockchain publicly. I'm not in favor of the EIP being smashed on top of the SPS at the same time and all of it pushed out together. If it goes through and we're running it with consensus, then yes, we'll then support the blockchain health as usual. Oh, seed funding. Okay, words get missed. It happens. So, Crimson, you're in amongst the consensus witnesses. At this point in time, is it looking like it's going to come out in one blockchain, or one hard fork, or is it still up for possible changes? Crim's typing a response there. Okay, who knows? People have said yes. I don't really assume that anything will happen until there is code to see and until the witnesses run it. So I take it that in the light of Hard Fork 20, that the witnesses are not about to pass it until it's gone through a pretty good thorough vetting and testing. Krim says being vocal about her stance has not been totally popular. Well, sometimes people have got to stand up and speak their minds, or things just get pushed through and when they don't exactly have consensus. Good to see you here, Ian. Chibera says they're working on a build right now in the repo. A build of what, Chibera? And Krim says she's not pro EIP with our current distribution. That's just one. Okay, so there's three parts of the EIP. So on the curve, are you okay with that, or would you rather not see that? She's already said that she'd be okay with the free downvote concept. believe she's typing a response there. I'm seeing several people are typing. And we're just giving her a chance to get typed without putting pressure on her. Archange is also typing their way. He's another one of the witnesses. Okay. Krim says, in my view, the 50-50 and the curve together aren't enough to change people's habits, only because of the way the distribution already is on the platform, and I'd love to be wrong. I hope to be wrong. Actually, I tend to agree with you on that, Crimson. I don't think that people's habits are going to change. They may have the best of intentions, but if they can automate it, they will. And we're seeing a few more comments being typed out there. I think it's really important, particularly for people like Krim, to see conversations like these that are going on, so that when they're talking to the other witnesses, they are doing so having heard what's been said by the community.
Creamy is one of the few top 20 that actually does hang out with everybody, whenever and wherever possible. So she's an exception to that
Very much so.
general rule of thumb.
That is true. Krim is every.
Krim says, my point is I really don't want to push this as a magic bullet or something that will fix the experience. This package tends to all hinge on using all of the parts of it together in an ideal way. I think one of the things that I noticed that every time the value esteem gets down a little bit, we start these conversations. It seems to happen without fail. Arcane says, my main concern about the coming hard fork EIP is that everything is forged in code. Shall this economic improvement fail, we will have to wait for another hard fork, which would be months, to be able to make changes to what doesn't work. I prefer to see those economic parameters, the author curation ratio, reward curve formula, funding source being defined by witnesses. That's what they did on Golos, which is the Russian Steam version, and it works pretty well. And Nylon says, people still want to earn as much as possible, and the ones out for themselves aren't going to change their views now. If you don't want to take the long-term view, I don't see how you can change their mind. Dream, come on voice with your question, please.
Okay, sorry, I had to move my screen out of the way. Crimson just answered it, but I said I thought that all curation rewards were burned before 16 minutes, but I was recently reading in a comment after a post, there was a big discussion going on that it depends on the posts, and that somebody said that depending on like the person and the post and all this stuff, that like actually voting at a 10 or 11 minute mark would be like the highest curation rewards. And I was like, I didn't know that. I thought that we should all be like voting after, 15 minutes, and like 16 minutes is usually that point. But now I guess Creamy's going to answer that for me.
She's going to give us a little example diagram. Pictures always work well.
They do for me.
Give her a moment there. Blind, I know you can come on voice. Oh, he says he likes pictures because he can't read. The VIP, what's the VIP? Oh, EIP. Sure, go ahead, Chabera.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so there's an unintended benefit that comes from the system that people are not seeing. And it deals with a lot of the complaints that came from vote bots. With the new downvote system and the 50% split, it actually becomes more profitable, 1.5 through 3% more profitable than actually giving all your stake to vote bots. So things like anti-abuse guilds will be able to earn way more than they could from vote bots. So it's going to make most of the bots will likely disappear, or a lot of the stake will go to the bigger ones.
Oh, so we get them more concentrated instead of being spread out. They're not going to
Yep, and
disappear.
then it becomes profitable to stop abusers. Now that there's a downvote pool, because well, now you have an incentive to upvote posts that were abused. So if those bots or whatever, however the way doing it, if they share, unlike most bots who don't share, what's it called, the SP, it becomes way more profitable than just running a normal vote bot. So there's other parts to this that are not being mentioned, or people are not realizing it has a benefit to the system.
On Golos, users can define their author-curator ratio per post within range defined by witness consensus, giving power to the community. That idea actually has been floated around, and it could actually get interesting. So I see Krim is busy typing away there. Witty, you're typing when you could come on voice, or has your voice gone out?
I'm sorry, I'm driving. I'm taking my son to a dentist appointment, and I have myself muted for sake of possible outbursts from the children. But no, I'm kind of with Archangel over here. He's on point with the Golos. I think it's far more decentralized than Steam. Steam seems to, uh, I don't know. There's a couple votes that, or a couple stakeholders that seem to sway the vote of everything else, and it's kind of sad in a way. But it is what it is.
Krim says
As
that
for the whole bidbot deal, I don't know. It's part of the ecosystem. I mean, if you try to get rid of the bidbots and start giving people free flags, that's what I use bidbots. I'm not gonna lie. I even own a small one. I mean, granted, I don't make a whole lot of money with it, maybe 5 Steam a month, but you start giving people, free downvotes. I'm getting downvoted because I like TipU. I think TipU is one of the coolest bots out there. You can tip people with it, and for the past 2-3 days, I've been getting downvoted on my comments and my posts and this, that, and the other, all because I use a bidbot. What's that? Is my comment shitty? Is my comment shitty? My content? What? I mean, seriously, that in my opinion is abusive. That's it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I don't go around down voting people because I don't like the color of their hair or something. It's just some things don't make sense to me. Granted, that's part of the whole decentralization, and you got to kind of love it for what it is. Yeah,
so. I'm assuming, Krim, that the first part of yours was in response to Chibera. You don't believe that will offset the other issues that you've brought up, and that your personal stance, not ignorance, but as she said, she wants people to surprise her, and she does understand all the moving parts. In fact, she has demonstrated that very strongly. She fully understands the system. And Dream, there's your illustration on the rewards. So Chavez responded. He says he didn't say it would get rid of bots, but it would incentivize to stop abuse. And then starts the debate of what is abuse. So Arcane says Golos died because of bidbots, because the community was much smaller when they came in and couldn't resist the negative effects, and because Russians go crazy when it comes to money. Okay, is that a stereotype at the end there, Arcane? Yeah, and I have to agree with Chabera on that. People do forget that those rewards are not your rewards until they're paid out. They can go up and down, and they will, just through nothing more than the change in the value of Steam.
So Golos is essentially dead at this point. There's not much going.
Apparently, it's fairly inactive. Jack, come on voice.
I just want to say, oh, go ahead.
All your stuff, Sergeant. You got a higher rank.
Go ahead, Sergeant and Jack.
No horseshit. You is much higher rank than I am on Steam. And military days are long past. I just look at it. I just look at it this way. I mean, I've been on Steam now for about 2 years. A lot of folks on here have been talking about. Well, a few folks have been talking about it. Steam needs to be dumped down a little bit. You know, the majority of us on here on this podcast, we've been around the block for a little bit here on Steam. You know, we understand the SVD and Steam Power, and all that stuff. If we want to bring the masses here, it needs to be dumbed down a little bit. I mean, it can get kind of technical and everything. I mean, it's great. We've been on here. We're early adopters. I joined up about the second phase, I guess, the second group that joined up with Steam and got my brand going and everything. And there's a few folks who know who Sergeant is, but you know, if we want mass adoption, this SMTs, all this stuff, it's way too much. People like, you know, whatever. I want immediate gratification now. That's just not a Western thing. That's pretty much worldwide now. You know, and you know, all this stuff we've been talking about, it's very interesting and everything, but if we want adoption, I think it's not so much focusing on the, you know, all this stuff, SMTs and everything else. I think somebody mentioned earlier, talking about, you know, with the front ends, and a lot of people don't even know what the hell a front end is. This is a site I go to and I play my games, or do my blogs, or, you know, I do my videos or whatever, and I get rewarded for it. Ain't nobody care about all this SMTs and everything else, and the steam engine, and that one forking off of, you know, internal politics and all that. I mean, you know, we have to look at things that worked. You know, I'd hate to see Steam become the MySpace of blockchain. You know, when MySpace came out way before Facebook did. And I'm a type of person, you know, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. And even though crypto and blockchain is a little different, pretty much the same thing. You know, you had MySpace, people had MySpace accounts and everything. Then Facebook came out. That fella that sits at the chair of MySpace, he's still sitting there. It's pretty much probably all by himself, except for the bands and everything that do MySpace. You know, I hate to see that happen with Steam and the graphene blockchain and everything. It just needs to be simplified, made easy, all this stuff with the steam engine and this and that. You're talking about the SMTs, and now you got the steam engine, which I personally believe is just a fork of Steam. But, you know, we're all doing pretty good with it and stuff, you know, with the, you know, because we're still waiting on the SMTs. So a lot of us have jumped on the steam engine, which to me, I don't understand how a steam engine is going to be the difference from the SMT. It just looks to me like Agro Yabamat. They just went ahead and did their own SMT thing.
Well, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. And I mean, that's my understanding. But Shadows, you know, it's you and Kitty Girl to keep me straight, because I'm dumber than a box of rocks about a lot of stuff.
I'm told that the difference between SMTs and steam engine is that steam engine is running on a side chain, SMTs will run on the blockchain. That's what I'm told is the difference.
Well, that might be the difference, but I'll tell you what, you go to your Steam wallet and everything, your Steam engine is right there. I mean, you know, so I guess Steemit.com Inc., which I will remind everyone here, you may not have heard it enough, it's right up here at the top. Notice Steemit is not Steam. Steam is much bigger than Steemit. Pass it on. I guess Steemit.com Inc. doesn't have a problem with the steam engine because it's right there. And there was another thing I saw the other day.
Hold on. If you go to steamit.com, you don't see the Steam Engine wallets. You might see it over on SteamPeak.
Yes, it is indeed on Steam Peak, but not on Steamit.com.
Oh, that's what it is, honey. Because I use Steam Peak and I
Yeah,
use that
yeah,
Steam. That's Steam Peak. That's what I saw. I'm sorry.
yeah. It's not
Yeah,
on steamit.com.
it's Steam Peak. That's but Mac. So yeah, it makes sense. It had to be on there. But anyway, I mean, bottom line, and it's been mentioned. This is not an original idea of Sarge or anything. Engine Witty's mentioned it. Elon. I hope I pronounced that properly, Elon. I'm an Irish American, so I'm not good at Irish pronunciation, but it's been mentioned a number of times in here. A lot of things with Steam. If we want mass adoption, a lot of this mess needs to be dumbed down a little bit. Way too much going on. And as I said, most of us in here, we've been on Steam for a long time. We get it. SMTs, I still don't get it. I've read up on it. But like I said, I'm covering a box of rocks, so it takes me a little while to figure stuff out. But Steam Engine, pretty much a fork. It's a fork of Steam, in my opinion. That's what it is. I don't know if that's good, bad, or maybe it'll give a little boost to Steemit.com to go ahead and do their SMTs, and I don't know how that's going to help the platform or anything. I've been sitting here listening, keep my mouth shut. And that's very unusual for me because I love to talk.
Yeah, we noticed.
Yeah,
Krim, can you?
This is just coming from a minnow, that's not real smart on this stuff. Like I said, normally Shadows Pub, Kitty Girl, them my go-to people. Everybody knows that. Ain't no secret. Those are my mentors here on Steam. And Guilty Parties as well. And I wish he was in here because he probably set us all straight about all this. But he's busy. And
Sarge, you're kind of rambling there on us. I know
I'm
you're
sorry.
I know you're in the ramble, but now's not a good time to ramble. So
No, but that's
one
just
thing
what I'm.
one thing I want people to remember. I heard Sarge make the comment, and I've seen other people make the comment, and they say they don't want Steam to become MySpace. Well, guys, it might not be big, and it might not be Facebook, but MySpace is still there, it's still operating, and it's still employing people. So don't think of that as being the death knell of Steam if it doesn't become the size of Facebook.
Just to echo that sentiment, yeah, Apple was doing okay and then it wasn't doing so good, and look where it is now.
Yeah, things will often, they come and they go, sort of thing. So one of the things I meant to bring up today, and now is as good a time as any to bring it up because I'm going to still leave a bit of time for people to do it. A week ago, I was wandering around on CoinMarketCap because everybody goes to CoinMarketCap and says Steam's at 63 or 60 or whatever it is, and that's not a good thing. We're upset about that, and it's not going to invite investors in. And then I read the description of Steam on CoinMarketCap. It isn't the rank that's not a good thing. It's the description that is not a good thing. The description, first of all, talks about Steemit.com more than it talks about anything else. And it's totally focused on the reward benefits and nothing about any of the other things that are available as part of Steam. So I put a post up and I did a quick little rewrite of that description. And this one, my little rewrite will not count. But I want other people to put a rewrite into the comments, and I want the people to go and read those and upvote the ones that they like, that they think best describe Steam. So the post itself is paid out, but comments can keep on paying. And I'd like people to go and read what's there, add their own, and let's see if we can actually get some of that stuff incorporated over there at CoinMarketCap. I'm trying to get you the link to the post here, and it's my system's
I've
deciding
got
to
a
get
link
slow.
for you.
You got it? Thank you, kitty girl. So go ahead and put that in. There we go. The comments can stay active even though the post has paid out, so don't forget, don't vote on the post. Vote on the comments. And it's the number of comments, it's not the amount of the vote that's going to count. So it is a bit of a contest. There will be a prize, but I'm kind of hoping that Steam It Inc., who I assume is going to need to approach CoinMarketCap to get the change made, will consider incorporating some of that material and get that edited and cleaned up. Okay, Snook has something she wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with what Sarge was saying, is that there's all these different front ends. And I've been here almost 2 years, and a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit. And it's getting more and more confusing unless you're totally here every single minute of the day or, can speed read what's going to be happening. And most normal people, and I wrote a post about it and it got a lot of comments on it, just want to come and do their thing, which was what Steam/Steemit was originally, when it was introduced to me, made for. So all the new front ends seem to be very, very, like if you're an author, you go to this site. If you're this, you go here. If you're that, you go here. Plus, then you throw in all the tags for all the sites that maybe will upvote you and that kind of thing. And we only have 5 tags. And then you're going to run out of tags for what your post is actually about. But it's so complicated. Instead of just having to learn Steemit or Steam Peak or whatever, I want to see everything, and I don't want to know about all the other junk. Does that make sense?
Well, believe it or not, and we're going through, you might call the construction phase right now, but believe it or not, we actually are moving towards a point where there will be all kinds of choices, but you won't have to make all those different choices because you'll just gravitate to where you're comfortable operating, and that's where you'll operate. That's the whole concept.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is that from the outside, for new people coming in, it just looks confusing. Like it's just very confusing right now.
That's why it'd be really nice if we had a landing page that had all the various different parts that people could go to and explore, find where you're comfortable, and there's where you do Steam. We haven't got that yet.
No. So, I mean, like I said, that's my problem, and I see myself as an average user person. Kind of. That's all I got.
Okay. So we're coming down on the end of the couple hours. We had some discussion from our witnesses, and I really appreciate the ones that did show up. It's the smallest turnout we've had yet of them, but I think we've had an otherwise lively discussion on the platform, and in particular ways of looking at the platform. Yeah, I saw Crimsonbot kick in there.
Once you got people to open up, we had a lively discussion. We were quiet at first.
Yeah, it took a while to move from narrator to moderator. So the witnesses are present. Do you have anything that you'd like to say at the end here? I'll always give you guys the almost final word. Jack?
Yeah. I just like to go back to December-ish, November-ish 2017 when we first heard about / mentioned, started talking about SMTs in some way. And we used an example, a parallel example of Ethereum and how there are a bunch of coin offerings and projects being built on Ethereum, and Ethereum is the base that is used to make sure that those tokens can be traded with or worked with, or the transactions can be done on that blockchain, building the value of Ethereum all the way up into the hundreds at one stage. Just to sort of just get back to the origins of that whole idea, and seeing that, when we talk about Steam, back then in 2017, when it was just Steemit.com as the only front end that was hooked up to the Steam blockchain, it was pretty easy to talk about Steam and Steemit.com. And many of us, including myself, often used to use the wrong terms when talking about Steam. But we've obviously outgrown that, and I believe, and I still back what I said earlier, that what's going on with PalNet and how it's a proof case that is definitely confirmed that there is a need for SMTs, and that Steam should be the token that backs those SMTs and all the transactions being done with those SMTs. And when I say that, Steemit.com, as one of the front ends hooked up to the blockchain, should also have its own SMT, just like PalNet has its own sub token at the moment, which will hopefully be a future SMT. That's basically where I just wish to sum up everything that I was trying to say earlier.
Okay. And I believe Archange is kind of fake news us because he did say his goodbyes a while ago. Carrie, you were able to join us. Is there anything you wanted to toss in as we're getting down towards the end here? I know she was in a meeting and wasn't able to get in at the beginning. I see her typing away there. While she's typing, Engine, I know you can come on voice. Actually, Carrie,
I
you can come on
can.
voice.
I have a couple of disputing little ones back here. I guess they're both toddlers. No, she's 2. But yeah, there's quite a few people here considering the lack of witnesses. I'm glad Creamy showed up and we got a little bit of an insight into the top 20s opinions. I just yeah, I am Ingenuity and I approve this message. Yeah, hang on. I'm sorry, I can't talk more, but I'm being nudged and paged and pulled. So.
So Gandalf was partially with us. He's working on some deals and he wasn't paying full attention, but he's partially with us. That's always good to know. So I think that we've had a good discussion, taken away some things to think about, and always some things to think about and write about. And something I see still crop up occasionally on the platform.
And go comment on Shadow Pub's thing and put some more rewrites out there, because I know mine is kind of crappy. And yeah.
One of the things I still see cropping up every now and again is people thinking that when Steam Inc. did that big layoff last November, that it was, the beginning of the end, even though they've done some fantastic cost cutting and changing things around. And today I was reading an article that apparently about 2 years ago, Medium.com did a similar layoff, and they're now thriving. So I think this platform is going to thrive. Yes, Kitty Girl dropped the link to the post. So the next witness chat will be on the 17th of July. That's the third Wednesday in July. Oh, there we go. We got lots of links to it now. So, unless anybody else has got something that they want to say before we close out, you've been listening to Shadows Pub, host the monthly witness chat from the Ramble. And until next time, it's all about community. And yep, we'll say bye to Wilma.